There is new information that the Social Security Administration has released on monthly benefit checks. Many seniors and retirees can finally begin to receive boosted monthly payments. Lawmakers have pushed for an increase of over $200 a month. And also, according to an announcement by federal officials, veterans and retirees will see an average of 8.7% cost of living increase in their Social Security benefits starting in December, the largest increase in 42 years. The big boost reflects the rising cost of inflation throughout the last year. In a statement, the Social Security Administration said the move will give beneficiaries more peace of mind and breathing room. The move will directly affect about 65 million Americans receiving Social Security benefits, and administration officials have said the average beneficiary will see an increase of about $140 in their monthly payouts. And this announcement, everybody, impacts veterans and military retirees whose benefits increases are tied to the Social Security figure. Last month, Congress approved legislation linking veterans' payouts to the Social Security mark, an annual adjustment, everybody, an annual requirement for lawmakers, that is. Last month, Congress approved legislation linking veterans' payouts to the Social Security mark, an annual requirement for lawmakers, and President Biden has signed this measure into law this week. Although the increases for 2023, veterans and retirees will see their first increase in the December checks. The 2022 cost of living adjustment was 5.9%. The 8.7% figure is the highest announced since 1981, while the COLA adjustment was more than 11%. For a veteran receiving about $1,500 monthly payouts, the 8.7% increase will mean about $130 extra each month. And whether that'll be enough to counter higher grocery costs is unclear. Advocacy groups in recent months have pushed for more assistance for veterans and retirees. Federal officials announced this week that the Consumer Price Index, a formula which measures the average change in the price of consumer goods, was 8.2% in September, higher than the outside analysis had expected. And about 5 million veterans and 2 million military retirees received benefit checks this month. The COLA increase legislation would apply to payouts for disability compensation, clothing allowance, dependency, and indemnity benefits, as well as other VA assistance programs. In a statement, Democratic representatives and the sponsor of the House have benefits of the Social Security boost. They called the announcement critical financial help to our veterans and families during these challenging times. Social Security recipients, most of whom are over age 65, have seen their payments increase almost every year, and Social Security was established in the 30s, but Congress first increased the payments in 1950.
It never materialized, but layoffs and shuttered factories did materialize. On my watch, we've kept our commitments. On my watch, Made in America isn't just a slogan, it's a reality. Made in America. Today's announcement is the latest example of my economic plan at work. I've said from the beginning that my objective is to build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out. An economy that rewards work, not just wealth. An economy that works for everyone. So the poor have a ladder up, the middle class can do better, and when that happens, the wealthy do very well. They don't get hurt at all, they do very well. It's a fundamental shift, and it's working compared to what the very conservative Republicans are offering these days. Let's just take a look at the facts. When I took office, the economy was in ruins. My predecessor was the first president since Herbert Hoover. Not a joke, to lose jobs in the entirety of his administration first. Unemployment when I was sworn in was at 6.4%. Hundreds of thousands of small businesses closed. The irony is that during the pandemic, the record number of Americans became, at the same time we lost all these small companies, the record number of Americans became billionaires in the middle of this crisis. While more than 9 million people are still out of work from the pandemic when I took office. Today, with the help of the people behind me, we're in a much better place. 10 million.
Among other leading Democrats who had been long leery that a suspension of the federal gas tax, which stood at 18 cents a gallon for decades, would translate into lower prices at the pump. Representative Neal stated, "We've got to figure it out again. Who gets the money?" And all of a sudden, it's a tiny savings for the consumer and big savings for the oil companies. It doesn't accomplish the goal that we want to see. What the administration idea is, and then we'll figure out how to react from there. In promoting a gas tax holiday, Biden said it would help struggling families through their bustling summer travel season. He's not only urged Congress to suspend the federal tax, but also called on states to suspend their own fuel taxes, which averages at 26 cents a gallon. The House Majority, Steny Hoyer, is another Democrat skeptical that a gas tax holiday would be effective, largely out of concern that the savings will be absorbed by retailers and wholesalers but not passed on to consumers. Hoyer reiterated these concerns, though he's not ruling out the support Biden's proposal before taking a closer look at it. 6 ongoing online petitions called for Congress and President Biden to deliver recurring stimulus checks of $2,000 until the crisis ends and have now collectively passed 3 million signatures. The latest Change.org petition for monthly direct payments was created by Denver restaurant owner Bonin. It asked for the U.S. representatives and the Senate to pass legislation that is going to provide a $2,000 payment for adults and $1,000 for children immediately, and continuing regular checks for the duration of the crisis. A second smaller petition calls for Biden and congressional lawmakers to join Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and other politicians who have recently supported recurring stimulus checks. A group of Democrats have sent a letter to Biden asking his administration to deliver recurring stimulus checks, everybody. Folks, what do you think about President Biden and the fourth stimulus check? Can he get the job done or not? Chuck Schumer has made a big announcement on the new financial aid. Many states and cities are putting funds towards programs that would guarantee Americans with a stimulus check every month. The Social Security COLA for 2023 could be the biggest in decades. However, that increase in monthly checks may not be enough. The Senior Citizens League, an advocacy group, sent a letter to members of both the House of Representatives and the Senate recently. The group is ramping up its calls for new $1,400 stimulus checks to be sent at once to Social Security beneficiaries. The letter was signed by Rick Delaney, chairman of the Senior Citizens League, and he said that we believe that a special stimulus for Social Security recipients can help defray the higher costs that people could face if the next year's COLA bumps them into a higher tax bracket, causing higher tax rates on their income and surcharges to their Medicare Part B premiums. Next year's Social Security COLA is projected to be at least 8%, driven by rising consumer prices. Yet that more generous increase may not be sufficient to help recipients, some of whom have had to cut back on their spending on food or seek aid from food pantries or SNAP benefits. The Senior Citizens League is advocating for changes to the method by which the annual COLA is calculated. The SSA currently uses the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers to determine whose changes. Now it's also known as the CPIW, and it tracks spending by those who earn an hourly wage or work in clerical jobs. The Senior Citizens League is also calling for legislation to ensure that Social Security could continue to pay benefits for the next 75 years. The Social Security Trustees' annual report recently showed that the combined trust funds used to pay retirement and disability benefits will be depleted in 2034.
For your effort, and for the IRS's effort, and for the employees that work for you, the heroic effort that they put in place to build a system to demonstrate that we do not have to accept these rates of childhood poverty as a permanent feature of our economy or a permanent feature of our democracy. And that was thanks to the work that your folks did. So I'd love to hear your reflections as an economist and a policymaker on the effects of the expanded monthly child tax credit on children and families, and what is your general reaction to all of this?
Senator, you've spoken eloquently about the benefits of the child tax credit. I completely agree with your comments. It cuts